We've all heard the saying, don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes we can't help ourselves. And when it comes to movies, sometimes a trailer just looks bad or a premise feels dumb, but when you actually sit down to watch it, it turns out to be pretty awesome. For example, back in 2014, Warner Brothers was releasing a pretty generic looking sci-fi movie that starred Tom Cruise at a time when people were more than a little burnt out on his movies. It was called The Edge of Tomorrow, and while it looked like another bland action movie, it turned out to be really clever. The Groundhog Day style loop where he has to live through the same day over and over was really addictive, and like that concept, the movie feels endlessly rewatchable, and the duo of Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt was surprisingly great. It's a movie that's way better than it looks and easily one of the best sci-fis of the 2010s. After that, how about a cheap reboot of an okay 90s sci-fi movie? That's basically what we were getting when Lionsgate announced Dredd back in 2012. It's a movie that absolutely no one was looking forward to, which was proved when the movie actually lost money despite having a low budget. But word of mouth would soon spread that Dredd was a lean, brutal, and locked-in action movie that was leagues better than the original. It felt very similar to The Raid with one location and waves of enemies, and had way more in common with the original gritty comic series rather than the 95 movie. It's become a legit cult favorite over time, and luckily a lot of people have discovered it. It definitely makes you wonder how it slipped under the radar in the first place, but luckily it's found its audience. Next up was what looked like a pretty basic thriller, but was actually one of the best crime movies of the 2000s. It's called Prisoners, and I specifically remember my roommate wanting to rent this at a Redbox and me just saying, why? It looks so generic, but I turned out to be very wrong. It's a masterfully crafted movie created by Denis Villeneuve, who would go on to make Sicario and Dune. It's an insanely tense movie with incredible performances from Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Paul Dano. It's a very sharp movie showing the dangers of obsession, and like any great thriller, has an excellent plot twist. It could easily be considered one of the top 10 crime thrillers ever made, and is a perfect example of why you can't always trust the trailer. After that, we have what on the surface looked like a pretty typical dad thriller type movie. It was called The Accountant, which is not an interesting title. The whole premise of Ben Affleck playing a brilliant but autistic accountant who is also an action hero really just gets an eye roll, but I'll be damned if it didn't turn out to be a super entertaining thriller. It's a much smarter movie than I would have expected, with plenty of surprises and really good action scenes. Their story was solid all around, and Ben Affleck actually nails the role of Christian Wolf, which ended up being one of his best characters in a while. If you were like me and totally skipped over The Accountant, I definitely don't blame you, but action and thriller fans should for sure consider giving it a second look. Our next movie was a live-action adaptation of a manga series with a CGI main character called Alita Battle Angel. These types of movies are almost never great, and the internet immediately trashed the trailer due to the eerie-looking character. The movie actually didn't do bad at the box office, making most of its money overseas, but it really started to build buzz over time because it was a good sci-fi adventure movie with a lot of heart. Alita is a genuinely likable lead, and the action was a real surprise. Fast, clean, and creative, with fights that actually have impact. It's way more than just a CGI showcase. It was a much better movie than almost everyone expected it to be. Next up was another movie that just sounded like a bad idea from the get-go, a reboot of an old cop drama TV show, but this time it was supposed to be a comedy. It was called 21 Jump Street, and it was gonna star Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, a guy who was mostly known for being a romantic movie heartthrob at this time. But 21 Jump Street would end up being one of the funniest movies of the 2010s. The lead duo were great together, and the movie did a smart job of poking fun of the idea of reboots in general. The movie embraced its cliches and turned them into one of the funniest parts of the movie. 21 Jump Street probably shouldn't have worked, but you gotta give it to the talented crew who somehow nailed it. The next movie had all kinds of things working against it. It looked pretentious, the title was vague, it had a troubled production including swapping lead actors. Most people didn't even know what it was about. It was called The Fountain, and it grossed a horrendous $16 million at the box office, $10 of which was me, as I remember seeing this in a completely empty theater. But word of mouth has really built this movie up over time, with a lot of people finding it to be a beautiful and original film. Admittedly, it's not for everyone, but for those who click with it, it hits hard. The director Darren Aronofsky would be a lot more successful with his next two films, The Wrestler and Black Swan, and The Fountain would go on to be one of those great hidden gem movies of the 2000s. If you enjoyed this video, you can also check out 7 massively underrated movies from the 2020s by clicking here. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you again soon.